So good morning, good morning. Welcome to In the Garden with Joyful Living. I am Kimberly Dixon. So first of all, y'all, before I get started, let me give a shout out to my barber, JB Green. Y'all look at that cut. Look at that cut. So earlier this year, I decided I was going to go back to my mohawk because I had it for a few years. But then as it began to grow out, I was like, I'm not feeling this. So yesterday when I went, I said, cut it all off. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, fade the sides and give me a 2-guard on the top. And he did precisely that. So thank you, JB. I feel like myself again. So while we wait for a few people to join us, let me give you a tour around the garden. So as you can see, things look vastly different than they did just a few weeks ago. The iris is starting to bloom. Good morning, Sean. My tomatoes that I got from Forever Visitor Farms in Enfield, North Carolina with Miss Lynette, they are doing fabulous. This is a yellow pear tomato. Put some basil, and that was some onion I transplanted, so it's looking kind of rough right now. But as it grows roots, it'll stand back up. But this is a yellow pear tomato, good for people if you have acid reflux. This is a slicing tomato. And I put the basil in here to deter aphids and other insects that will attract. My snow peas are doing wonderfully. Spearmint is coming back up from last year. This is an orange striped tomato that I got from a local farmer just a mile from where I live. I'm excited to try that. That's my, well, I've got several, all my tomatoes this year are different varieties I've never had. That's a Jasper cherry tomato, a indigo cherry tomato. It's going to be dark purple or almost black. Here I got some Boston pickling cucumbers that I started from seeds. And you can see it's getting its first set of true leaves. All plants start out with these two first leaves, but those are not your true leaves. You want to wait till your true leaves start to emerge to see if your plant's really going to survive. Marigold that I planted from seed. Sweet banana pepper. A box of sticks. I'll explain some point, but not today. Potatoes that I hadn't planned on planting this year, but they started growing, so I planted them. Sunflowers are coming up. I have to be careful with those because as soon as they start to smell good, the squirrels will eat those. More snow peas. Red bell pepper. And as you can see, I put cages around the tomatoes and the peppers because as they get bigger and they start to produce fruit, the limbs will get heavy and it's easy to break. You got my ginger that's not started to come up yet. This is bee balm to attract the bees and things. This is a yellow bell pepper. My collard greens, some onion, and lettuce that are all going to seed that I'm going to harvest. Lemon balm, kale, strawberries. And as you can see, as you look around the garden, you've got things that are all in different stages of development. Some things, good morning, Evangelist. Some things in the very beginning, just peeking through the ground seeds, but then other things like the kale, the collard greens, and the lettuce, they're at the end of their life. Then we have some more flowers there, a muncher cucumber that's coming up. Here is spinach and asparagus, along with some marigolds that are coming up. This is my baby from last year, my Japanese eggplant, the only thing that survived the overwintering. And here on the table, again, is a perfect illustration of things in different stages. And some of these things that I started from seed, you see some of them are coming up lovely. We've got some marigolds here, and then those are zinnias, dwarf zinnias. But then you see all of these empty spots where nothing came up. And that happens sometimes when you plant seeds. It just does not develop into what you thought it was going to. So don't be discouraged when your seeds don't come up. Sometimes we get a bad seed. But this morning's broadcast is not going to be very long. because I have a training to do at 9 o'clock. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity to get on here and share with you just for a moment. So today I actually had a different topic in mind. But then one of my business partners did a post in Telegram, and what he talked about in his written post was first things first. And I was like, you know what? I need to talk about that a little bit. So today we are talking about first things first. And again, I want to shout out David Stefano for your post this morning. It was illuminating. So David is one of my partners with Love Biome, excuse me. And he and I both, we are merchants at this point in the game. But merchant is only the first level. You can go many other levels to like 6 levels, 5 levels. But the thing about that is we see the success that people are having, and we want to be a part of that. And we think that overnight, take myself and David, for example, we think we can be a Mr. McCasey overnight, who was one of our top leaders. He's been in this industry for 12 years. We haven't seen the work that he's been putting in behind the scenes. So first things first, you got to get in and learn. You've got to get in and explore and try things and step outside of your comfort zone. So that is first things first. And that doesn't just apply to the business with direct marketing. It applies to life as well. It applies to gardening. So yesterday I helped a friend of mine create a flower bed. Now, you would think, okay, get the flowers and plant them. But that's not the first stage of the process. Good morning, Tony. That's not the first part of the process. The first part of the process was pulling all the weeds, preparing the soil, and then you get to the point where you plant plants. Out here in this vegetable garden, planting your seed, it's not the first thing that I did. I prepared the dirt. I got all of my containers together. So first things first, we immediately want to reap fruit in our lives, but we haven't done the first thing to get some fruit. I want you to let that sink in, because that applies to every area of our lives. We want the fruit. We want the success. We want the notoriety. We want all of these accolades and awards, and we want to be on the stage, but we haven't done the things to prepare us to get on the stage. We haven't done the things to prepare us to be an executive in a company that we're working at. We haven't done the things to prepare us to be the top of the top in direct marketing. We haven't done the things to prepare us to be an elite athlete. How many teenagers do you know want to be in the NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, any of those, hockey, any of them? But yet they won't consistently show up at practice now. They won't go out when it's too hot, it's too cold, or whatever. There's always these excuses of why I can't do something, but yet and still, your dream is to play in the NBA. Odds are, it's not going to happen if you don't put in the work beforehand. Good morning, Jay. You said that cut. Thank you. I talked about that cut first thing. So in order to get on the stage, and Jay can speak perfectly for that as the CEO and founder of Love is a Parable, those years of back work only prepares you to get on the stage. You don't start an organization and immediately step onto the stage day one. And that people see that and they want that and they think that's easy to replicate, but you don't recognize the sacrifice that being on the stage, being a top athlete, being a Lisa Nichols or any of these people that everybody knows by their name. You don't know the years of sacrifice. I've been following Lisa for years and years. Even before I started my business in 2014, I watched her videos to learn how to speak on stage. But she's been doing this for decades now. First things first. We got to get that in our mind that there is a lot of preparation, background work, and all of these things that take place before you ever reach the top of any field. Before you get fruit in this garden, all of this stuff you see out here, it's a lot of stuff out here. I told you guys just a few weeks ago that don't despise the humble beginnings, because in just a few weeks it was going to look completely different. And this is not even what it's going to look like at the height of the summer. But first things first, I didn't immediately plant seeds or plant vegetables. I got my containers together. I prepared the soil. I cleaned up from the winter and, did all of these other things to the shelf and all this other stuff before I did anything with a seed, because when I know when those plants start to come up, they're going to need somewhere to go. But you see things out here that are in every stage of production. But this is what your life looks like. It's going to have different stages of production. And some of those stages are going to be hard and they're going to be rough. It was like, but you cannot give up in the, good morning, Janelle. You cannot give up in that stage. That's my neighbor, my beautiful neighbor Tuesday just popped up to say hello. Good morning. Love you.
Love you more.
But we have to be willing to do the things that are going to prepare us to get on stage. I want that to just sink in with you. And that sinks in for me. Guys, let me tell you something. So I've been speaking and doing the In the Garden for a long time. And God is constantly molding me and shaping me into who He would have me to be. But a lot of the messages that I do, that He gives me to give to the world, they are for me. When I start to examine it and start to get it together and think about it and get my thought process, I was like, oh my God, this word is for me. And doing first things first, even if you start first, it still may take years. You got to be willing to put in the years for that vision that God gave you to manifest. It may take years. So you start the business, and that vision that is supposed to come through that business. It doesn't happen year 1, year 2, year 5, year 10. What are you going to do? Are you going to give up, or are you going to keep the faith and remember that vision that God gave you? You got to keep hold of that vision, because first things first, I got to prepare you to be on the stage in front of 10,000 people. And this is the preparation for it. And before you can get on the stage with 10,000 people, you need to be on a stage with 10 or 20. Now I've done that. And I'm proud of that. I can remember when my YouTube channel had 10 subscribers, and I didn't know who one of them was. I was ecstatic. And now my YouTube channel has over 1,800 followers. Still, not even a fraction of the number of people who could be following it, because that could be millions of people. First things first. Before you can entertain a audience of 5 million, let's try entertaining an audience of 5,000, of 500, of 50, of 5. Are you willing to entertain an audience of 5? I am. I remember when I did my first event, I was like, if one person shows up, then that one person is the one that needs this. It's something that can be received. And I was already determined that I was going to go into my event. I was going to talk like I was talking to an audience of 1,000 people. I was going to have a good time. I was going to enjoy myself. And I wasn't going to be discouraged by the small number. And going into it with that mindset of being willing to talk to one like it was 1 million people, I had 30 people to show up on my first event. I was ecstatic. Everybody was like, look at all these people. This is her first event. We were at Artists Art Studio, and all the chairs, not all the chairs, a lot of the chairs were filled. But that's what I want you to understand. Keep taking those first steps. Keep taking them, even when the journey is hard, when it's rocky, when you falling down and you getting up with scrapes and you got bloody knees and just all things. It feels like it's falling apart at the seams. Don't give up. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all. Y'all, 2023 has been a year for me. Good morning, Calvin. 2023 has been a year for me. I won't go into all the details of it, but life is life and hard. But that's something that we have to be mindful of. Life is life for everybody. Things are getting harder by the day, but I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to be discouraged. So when life is lifing, you keep moving, keep taking those tiny steps. Even if you bloody, you scraped up, you crying. Sometimes you got tears falling down your face. You keep, Calvin, I haven't seen you in, God, years. It's been decades, actually, but I hope you're doing well. Keep moving forward. Give yourself the grace to feel what you are feeling in the moment and keep moving forward. Life can get hard sometimes. We can feel fear. We can feel discouraged, but don't give up. It's like God didn't give you the dreams and the visions, and he didn't plant that seed in you for it to fall on rocky ground. It can be rocky sometimes, but you got to keep tilling the soil. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep just extending some grace to yourself. Just keep going. Don't give up. Life is worth living. Life is worth living. Don't give up. So guys, I want to thank you all for being on In the Garden with Joyful Living on this morning. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.